all these people having their kings being their entire purpose in life. And that's a bad thing, because if that's all you are, or that's all your life is, then what are you doing with your life? You're literally wasting your life. It's not safe. It's not even a thing about safe. It's literally destructive to yourself and to society. And I came to that conclusion by thinking about, thinking about the 10 Commandments and the 7 deadly sins, and why the 7 deadly sins are sins. If you want to behave like a dog, do it in the bed. Yes. Not in the public park. Yes, exactly. Exactly. And the thing is, the 7 deadly sins, we just go there. The 7 deadly sins are sins because each of these sins can become your personal god. That's why the first commandment is that there's only one god, or you should only have one god. That's not even a thing about God, and oh yeah, the god of the Jews, the Christians, or whatever. No. It's about the 7 deadly sins being able to be your personal god. The perfect example here is lust. So why is lust is sin? Because lust in itself is not a bad thing. But, and here it is, lust outside of marriage can have massive negative effects on a person and society. What do I mean with that? Well, for example, jealousy. Jealousy comes from lust. If one guy lusts over the wife of someone else, but what can go wrong there? Well, he gets a knife and stabs the wife's husband. Why? Because he's lusting over this dude's wife. What else? Oh, promiscuity. That's lust, right? Oh, what can be negative there? Well, how about STDs? Yeah, huge negative, not only for the people individually, but for society. We see that in Africa, where you have countries with 20 to 30% of the population having AIDS. That's a huge problem, right? Where does it come from? Lust. How can I tell, because I have always mostly controlled my lust. What do I mean? For example, I never had sex without a condom. Ever. When I was a teenager, I was literally 12 years old. I knew to never do it without a condom until I'm married. I had that kind of way of thinking when I was 12 years old. And that didn't change until now. And it hasn't changed yet. And it never will. Never. Yes, never. I would never do that. Yes, until marriage. That's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. Until marriage. Now, will I ever get married? Most likely not. I'm over 40. I am poor. There's no way I will get married. So yeah, whatever. But the thing is, we see that in the West too. Shut up. Yeah, no, shut up. We see it in the West too. Who are the people that have all the STDs? The people that are all promiscuous. And the thing here is it's not even that, oh yeah, you have, and you get married when you're 30, and before that you have girlfriends and boyfriends. You have 5. Let's say 5 girlfriends and boyfriends. You have actual relationships with the people, and You protect yourself and your partner from STDs, you know, using condoms and shit like that. Things like that are still fine. How do we know? Because back in the day, even if the world was way, way more conservative, that still was a thing where, yes, you can do that. You shouldn't have so many partners, and yes, 5 were a lot of partners back in the day. You can be promiscuous, but still be careful. Yes, but who is? That's the thing. That's the thing. And the thing is, condoms can just break. I know, it happened to me. It can just happen. So if that happens to you, if you're in a 5-year relationship, that's not a big deal. And also, being promiscuous and being careful, yes. But that's also, you know, yeah, it's one individual. I mean, we want to say that, you know, yeah, every person is, you know, every person is able to take care of themselves and, you know, make sure they don't catch anything. The thing is, if that would be true, we wouldn't have any problems. But the problems are there. Which we also see in, you know, a lot of kids being born out of wedlock. Which then leads to even more problems. Which we will not get into it right now, because, yeah, that's a whole nother... Man, we would be here for hours. But you will spend a lot of money, but you can be careful. Yes. Yes, that's the thing. What it can cause negatively. Okay, now back to marriage. So I wholeheartedly believe that lust is only a sin when it is not under control. And that's why lust has become a sin. You know, as it would, it is a sin. Because of the negative effects it can happen. And if people don't take care of, you know, control their lust, it will have negative effects. We see that everywhere. Literally everywhere. I know that from myself. I mean, I grew up watching Korn as a kid. Literally elementary school. My entire life I've watched the Korn. That's lust. And it kind of became my god. And I would say that it literally ruined my life in a lot of ways. And getting that under control, that's hard. If you watch that stuff for 30 years since you were 8 years old, well, now almost 40 years, Jesus. Yeah, you know, getting over and out of that stuff, it's not easy. Not easy, and that's why lust is, and all the other of the 7 deadly sins are sins. It's not because they inherently are a bad thing, but they can become so bad for one person or an entire society that they've become a sin. It depends on how much you watch it, how much is too much. Well, I would say if you watch it every day, it's too much. That's definitely a thing. Because I know when I'm out working 8 hours a day, I don't watch the Korn. Because I'm too exhausted to do so. I literally am. I just... I come home from work, I want to eat, drink something, and go to bed. Maybe watch a movie or YouTube videos, maybe play a little bit of a game, and then go. What's normal twice a week? Well, it depends on your lifestyle, right? But I would definitely say if you do it all the time, that's bad. If you watch it every day, lower that. and then lower it further and further until you are at the point where it doesn't take away from your life, you know. If and the thing is not only you know, how often do you watch it, but also how long. I mean, if you watch Korn every day and you fab to it for 5 hours, and that's way, you know, we don't have to talk about that's way too much, because you don't get anything done in your day. I think the difference between man and woman. You don't know how much about this. Yeah, the thing is that at least for men, there's a huge problem. I've heard Dr. K talk about it, that men get the problem with actually having intimacy with a woman because they don't watch people doing it. They literally have the visual of people doing it to being aroused. And that's a huge problem. You try to not overshare too much, yeah. You aren't a streamer. You don't have to produce content. But that's the thing, that just even if you would only do it once per week, right? But if you fab, you know, for 12 hours, that's way too much, right? And it's also unhealthy, just, you know, for your junk. It is. But the same goes for being a slob, you know. Being a slob, I mean, if you come from a 12-hour shift of work, right, and you just eat something and go to bed, you aren't a slob. You're just tired, you know, that's whatever, yeah? But if you wake up and you don't even get out of bed, you just roll over and you stay in bed the entire day, and you do that every day, yeah, you are a slob. You are harming yourself and you're harming society. You can still do it and not watch Korn. Like, there are other more social ways. Well, yes. And there's also a problem, you know, that... Oh boy. For example, there are adult games where, you know, they're basically like... Oh wait, perfect example, VR chat. VR chat is full of perverts, as far as I've known. I've only been in VR chat over 10 years ago, to the time when Ugandan knuckles were a thing. If you know, you know. And even back then, I've seen, you know, a bunch of people with scantily clad, big boobed anime characters, and that has gotten way worse. And that's also a way how you know, that's literally just lust. Can ruin you. Literally, VR shit has become a cesspool of perverts, where they also already groom children, which is, oh my god, yeah, that's... Check Discord, oh god. Ah, yeah, I see what you mean. Yes. Yes, I did that too. And there's a lot of ways, you know, you can... Is that a bad thing? No, it's not. It just... you know, you have to control how much you do, and you know, with who, especially with who, because some people, like I said, VR chat has a huge problem with grooming, which I don't think the developer might even be aware of. Or if they're aware of, they might not be able to actually do something. Unlike Roblox, where the developers know about that and they, best case, don't care. Or worst case, you know, want that. By the way, fun fact, Roblox makes billions and has never made a profit. Just like Fortnite. Fortnite made $42 billion. Not profitable. How stupid can you be? But yeah, that's why I believe that that's why I believe that the 7 deadly sins are 7 deadly sins. It's because they can become your personal god, and that's why the first commandment says you should only have one god. It's actually about the 7 deadly sins being able to become your personal god and causing so much trouble for you and society that you can't have them uncontrolled. That's the thing. It's all about control. It's all about control. Controlling yourself, and to be fair, also controlling others. That's why, you know, grape is illegal. Everything is about balance. Yes, exactly. You can't have too much or too little. Yes, exactly. It's all about control. If you don't have any self-control, then it's better to not have any of the problematic thing at all. That's why I shouldn't have any candy at home. Because I eat that shit. Fat old man. Well, thankfully not as fat as I was in the very, very past. But still, enough. Okay, and with that, we are at the end of this video. If you liked it, give it a like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And if you want to let me know what you think about all the stuff I babbled about, comment. Bye bye.